Hello, everybody. Welcome to our weekly Subspace Developer Sync. Today, we're going to be getting updates from everyone on the engineering team about what they've been working on in the last week, what they plan on focusing on this week. As usual, we'll start with the core team, but I don't believe Nazar is on. So why don't we start with Shamil?
Sure. Last week, I tuned multiple parameters for the DSN. I changed the default cache sizes in farmers and nodes. I added multiple CLI arguments related to DSN, like already mentioned cache sizes or private IPs in the academia.ht. Thanks to Nazar, I was able to restore our old block importing proof of concept code. However, it seems working differently with the new consensus and the latest Substrate version. And Nazar will investigate the difference when he has time. Also, libp2p has finally fixed the bug preventing us from using the pull model. Thanks you, Thomas. And the fix made it to the latest libp2p release, 050. I will start changing our current push model to pull model. And I will change the put record API to start providing API with request response protocol for actual piece retrieval. That's it.
Great. Lu Chang.
Yeah, last week I fixed a bug of codomain state verification in pilot domain registry and prepared the change spec for the internal stress testnet. And the other time I was mostly working on the codomain node refactoring, which is about 70% or 80% complete. So for this week, the goal is to finish the codomain node refactoring and fix some to-dos which are important. Apart from that, I also will have another attempt to debug the issue preventing the connection between the domain nodes that will affect the way of cross-domain messaging. But it's still a bit annoying. Yeah, that's my updates. Yeah.
Okay. Ved, how are things coming?
Hey everyone. Last week, mostly working on the domain transaction router, but we had some conflicts there with Nazar's opinion on whether we want to push it or not. So we put a pause on that. We moved and then moved to some infra changes for Gemini 3a. I'm at the moment made a release and we have the doc images for us to use for Gemini 3a. I have initiated the deployment. The bootstrap nodes should be up and they should ideally be running. I am working on bringing the executors up. It should be up in a few minutes, and then we could jump onto the other testings for infra for internal stress tests. This week, most likely infra for a bit of time until we have it more stable, and then also plan with Nazar and Liushang how to move forward with the domain transaction router. Hopefully, we'll have some idea about how to go about it and start working on the tech spec. Yes, that's pretty much it on my end.
That's great. So I guess keep us posted in Slack as far as when we're ready to join for the internal stress test. Parth.
Yeah, so from my end, I have started working on design for our cross-chain domain architecture. I created initial architecture which I had discussed with Jeremy and Jeremiah, and then I had a design discussion with Jeremiah last week, and we decided to like refine it a little bit. And on that side, I have created another set of diagram that reflects that updated architecture. Currently, I am working on further refining the architecture, as well as looking through optimism and arbitrum, as well as investigating a custom rollup, considering the trade-offs between them. So yeah, that's it from that.
All right. Ning, how's onboarding progressing?
Hi. For last week, I mostly reading short code, and I had going through the code base of the execution layer, and I had discovered root chain, and from this week, I will start coding, and I will start working on the something called polar receipt, which will be some refactoring to the code domain, and it will be something like abstracting something the execution receive logic to be used for both the code domain and the system domain. And yeah, this will what I plan to do this week.
That's great. All right, let's move on to product. Arthur, how are
Hey,
things?
good. Hey, no major updates on the partner end. The Insights campaign from Subwallet is ending on the 30th, so if you haven't voted, definitely go vote. Subspace docs are also updated to include some documentation on Subspace CLI, our new recommended approach for Gemini 3 initial testnet. So definitely check it out and give some feedback on the docs. That's it on my end.
Great. Serge.
So on my end, all 4 PRs related to testing and refactoring were merged on Block Explorer. There was a plan to create an additional API for the front end, but after some investigation, it turned out that we can still use existing API. So there was no need for any changes. So in the meantime, I was helping Natasha with some debugging stuff and updating README, some minor DevOps improvements, and also I found there was a bug related to fetching segments to calculate blockchain history size. And yeah, long story short, the fix was implemented and merged just before the meeting. Next, I think I found some issues with the Block Explorer UI. I will discuss it with Natasha after the meeting, and probably will tackle those if there is nothing more urgent. That's all.
Great. Natasha, how's the UI coming along?
Yeah, last week was about a little bit working on the DevOps side, fixing some issues between the GitHub pages and the preview on Netlify. Also working with the substrate to update the homepage accordingly to new blogs being received. Also, thanks to Serge helping me with that on some issues I found there. And also, one thing that I will be working this week will be implementing the search feature and also adding the README for the front end with the corresponding budget. And also discuss, as Serge mentioned, some of the issues he found in the UI and working on that.
Great. Yvonne, how's SDK coming?
Yeah. So as for SDK, I'm mainly following the updates from the monorepo, and basically adding some polishing the SDK. So basically, I added some more CI jobs, like for example, code auditing, like dependency auditing, like checking the unused dependencies, etc. Yeah. Also, I updated the SDK to the latest monorepo version. Yeah. Apart from that, I also added the configuration for the node, like imported basically almost all configuration from the substrate. Yeah, as for this week, I guess we'll take a look at the we'll follow the monorepo And their updates, yeah, also focus on the support, I guess. And maybe I will start working on the initial like executive node support for VSDK. Yeah, that's it on my end.
Great. Özgen, how's the CLI?
Pretty good. So last week I updated the README with badges and download links. And there is also the pre-allocation bug you found, Jeremy. We mentioned it last week. The fix for that, both in SDK and CLI. I also submitted a PR for monorepo about the fix. It's merged. Also, we had a small bug for parsing the config and applying custom validations in case of the wipe command, which is not necessary. We fixed that bug. And after Ivan made Gemini 3A spec available in the SDK, I updated it, and now CLI supports Gemini 3A as well. I added unit tests, and today, just before this meeting, Ivan merged a couple of PRs. After the meeting, I will reflect the corresponding changes to CLI.
Great. So you should be getting probably some good feedback on the CLI this week as the team starts using it. So, all right, let's move on to research. Daria.
Yeah. So last week I have been for a big part working on the studying the way to commit to KZG commitments as elliptic curve points. Taking apart a pretty big paper, and I feel like I understood it, and we could probably use it in our proof of application if we decide to do so. And then we were working closely with Dr. Chen Feng on formally describing our requirements for the consensus and our security assumptions, and how do we achieve them in like very nice academic language.
Cool. Jeremiah, do you have anything to add, research or otherwise?
I do not. Not today, Jeremy.
Okay. Great. I guess, have I missed anybody? All right, I guess I'll go. Short week last week with Thanksgiving. Hope everybody enjoyed some time off. I've been working on Gemini 3 planning. Looks like we'll have our kind of internal stress test to the dev team getting started right after this call, and then more internal for tomorrow. This week I'll be doing more milestone planning around Gemini 3. I'm trying to figure out all of our engineering goals from it and mapping those out, and begin working on kind of the preliminary aspects of our engineering handbook, getting engineering processes defined and documented. So if there's nothing else, we will go ahead and finish up. We'll see you guys next week.